name is Quinn Ashford, and I'm 29 years old. Competence is the quiet hum no one claps for, the way a spreadsheet reconciles itself at midnight, the way rent clears before the fee ever threatens, the way a grocery list becomes meals that become a week that holds. For a long time, I imagined love should move in the same rhythm. Not fireworks, not spectacle, just the steady click of two sane people keeping pace. Noah could turn a Tuesday into a spotlight. He's 26, all quick smiles and easy stories, the kind of charming that photographs well. In the beginning, he said my calm steadied him. I told myself that meant balance. Maybe it did, until his parents entered the chat with a study, a document, and a performance that mistook intimidation for wisdom. Formal discussion, Charles wrote in the text. 6 o'clock sharp. Their house isn't a house, not really. It's a brochure left open on a kitchen island the size of a modest studio. Linda greeted us with air kisses and citrus perfume, then steered us past the dining room, table laid but not for us, and into the inner sanctum, Charles's study. Dark leather, oak desk that could anchor a ship, a wall of framed deals that might as well read, "Who you are is what you can negotiate." "Sit," Charles said, gesturing like an interviewer. "We'll be efficient." Noah squeezed my hand. I squeezed back. Little choreography, a couple promise. I didn't notice until later that he let go first. Linda set a thick document on the desk, the kind that carries its own gravity. "A prenuptial agreement," she sang, as if unveiling a cake. "Standard in our family. These things protect everyone." "I'm not opposed to prenups," I said. That was true. Tools are neutral. Intent is not. "Good," Charles replied. "Sign on the last page. Our counsel has handled all the language." "I'll need to read it." I smiled. "That's also standard." Linda laughed a bell-like laugh. "Oh, honey, it's legal fluff. Basically, what's yours stays yours, what's his stays his, clean and simple." I opened to page 1 and watched clean and simple sprout teeth. If we divorced for any reason, I'd receive no spousal support, regardless of circumstance. Any gifts from the Whitmore family would be classified as loans payable immediately. If we had children, default full custody to Noah. I'd be responsible for his attorney's fees in any dispute. His student loans, I blinked, would default to me upon marriage. Any joint property would default to Noah in the event of dissolution. If Noah purchased a home with his salary during marriage, it would be his separate property. If I purchased a home with mine, it would be marital, and thus divisible at his discretion. I felt my pulse slow the way it does when a spreadsheet cell refuses to balance. When you know the mistake isn't in the math, it's in the premise. "This is extensive," I said, careful. "We protect our assets," Charles replied, leaning back, temple steepled. "The Whitmore name carries obligations." "Protecting premarital assets makes sense," I said. "But this goes well beyond that. This erases me from the marriage ledger." "Not at all," Linda cooed. "You bring your grace, your steadiness, what did you call it, Noah? Your grounding." Noah's smile was thin. "It's just a formality, Quinn. We're not getting divorced." "Then why does it matter?" I asked gently. "If we make it fair." The room's temperature dropped 1/2 degree. Charles's lips twitched. "Because this is how it works." "Works for whom?" I asked. He let the silence hang like a lesson. "For people with something to lose." I set the document down. Flattening the curl memory had already begun to give the paper. I looked at Noah, really looked, and asked, "You've read it?" He shrugged, boyish. "It's standard, babe." "Standard," I repeated, as if the word might turn reasonable if I said it with enough warmth. Linda's hand, manicured and merciless, slid a pen toward me. "Sign on the last page, darling." "Okay," I said. 3 faces softened, a small victory bloom. "On one condition," I added. The bloom froze. "Quinn." Charles's voice was a warning disguised as paternal concern. "That isn't how this works." "You just said we're never getting divorced," I said, still soft, still sane. "So this won't matter. Let's add a sunset clause. After 10 years of marriage, the entire prenup voids. If the marriage proves itself, we dismantle the scaffolding." "What?" they said together, a chorus 3 beats off key. Linda recovered first. "That defeats the purpose." "I thought the purpose was protecting premarital assets," I said. "After a decade, surely I've proven I'm not after those." "You could wait exactly 10 years, then walk," Charles snapped, control cracking through the baritone. "Pocket what you can and vanish." "So, your working theory," I said, "is that I would spend 10 years of my one life staging a heist I could avoid by simply not marrying into a contract that calls me a liability." I tilted my head. That's not a marriage. That's a merger, where one party is a rounding error. Noah's jaw had gone tight. Quinn, just sign it. You're making this dramatic. Dramatic, I repeated. Right. I turned a few pages back, tapping clauses like landmines. No spousal support even if I pause my career for children? Gifts recoded as loans? Your debt becoming mine? Default custody to you? I forced a breath, made it steady. If this is standard, your standard is contempt. Watch your tone, Charles said. Watch your language, Linda added. You're a guest in this home. I'm supposed to be a daughter-in-law in this home, I said, an ache opening under the words, because once upon a time I wanted that. But this document says I'm a risk profile. Quinn, Noah's voice found mine. Please, it's a formality. Then let's formalize the sunset, I said. 10 years. If we're who we say we are, we won't need any of this. No, Charles said flatly. Noah, I asked. He didn't answer right away. That pause was the opposite of a vow. Finally, we can't do 10, maybe 5, with a token payout. He glanced at his father, then back at me. 50,000 after 5 years? There it was. The number they thought my life, my labor, my body were worth against their anxiety. I stood. The chair legs sighed across the rug. I won't sign this without the sunset clause. Linda's kindness calcified. Then perhaps there's no wedding. Perhaps there isn't, I said, surprised to hear how calm my voice was. Competence is good at hiding tremors. It files the quake under later. Noah stood too, eyes flashing. You're throwing us away over money? I'm refusing to promise I'll be nothing, I said. Those are different verbs. Something broke in him then. Anger flared, then embarrassment, then a boy's flinch at the sight of his father's disappointment. You know what? Maybe my parents are right. His laugh was small and mean. You're lucky I even... Look at me, I supplied, and Linda's eyes flickered because I'd said the quiet part out loud. Charles placed a fatherly hand on the document like a priest laying a blessing on a body. This is final, Quinn. Sign or accept the consequences. I picked up the pen. For a second, their shoulders loosened, hopeful. I clicked it once, the sound sharp as a metronome, and set it down again. I accept the consequences, I said, but not your terms. Outside, the air felt colder, cleaner. Noah followed me to the car. Fury pretzeled into reason. Just think about it, he said, hand on the door. I did, I said, and now I'm thinking about the pattern. What pattern? The way you let go of my hand first, I said, and shut the door before he could ask what I meant, because I didn't trust myself not to answer everything. On the drive home, the citrus of Linda's perfume lingered in my hair like warning tape. The city slid by. Glass, brick, late shift lights, 1,000 private battles behind 1,000 tidy windows. I thought about the word standard. I thought about sunset. I thought about how the study's oak desk had felt like an altar where women lay down their futures and call it prudence. Back in our apartment, the lease in my name, because at the time it was easier, I sat at the dining table and pulled out my laptop. Spreadsheets are a language I trust. I made 3 columns. What I know, what I think, what I need to learn. Under what I know. I wrote, predatory prenup, default custody to him, his debt to me, gifts as loans, no support ever. Under what I think, the rush to wed isn't romance, it's liquidity. Under what I need to learn, the architecture of a Whitmore trust. I highlighted the last line, then opened my contacts and typed a name, Caleb Tran, finance guy, sharp, discreet. The kind of friend who sees the moving parts and hands you the right wrench. Hey, I wrote, hypothetical question about trusts. Got 10 minutes tomorrow? When I closed the laptop, the room was so quiet I could hear the hum. Fridge, street lamp, my own steadiness refusing to die. Sometimes the only way to honor what you built is to refuse to let someone else rename it. The next morning, my apartment smelled like cold coffee and realization. I didn't sleep. I just kept replaying Charles's smirk and Noah's silence. How easily love can vanish when money enters the room. How fast a future turns into a balance sheet. At 9:00 a.m., Caleb called. Hey, Quinn, you said hypothetical, but your voice in that text wasn't hypothetical. He was right. I need to understand trusts, I said. Specifically, what happens when someone gets married? There was a pause, keyboard clicking. Okay, whose trust? Noah's, his parents. Caleb's sigh was half pity, half respect. Classic generational wealth trap. The Whitmore Trust, right? Yes. He pulled up something on his screen. I could hear the hum of data moving. Yep, found it. Typical structure. Controlled by his parents until he's 30 or gets married, whichever comes first. After that, he gets full access. I stared at the cracked rim of my mug. So, if he marries now, he controls the principal tomorrow, Caleb finished. Which means the prenup wasn't about protecting him from you. It was about ensuring he gets the money while keeping you locked out. For a long second, I couldn't breathe. Then quietly. So it was never about love. It was logistics. Always is, Caleb said softly. But hey, now you know their game. When we hung up, the quiet wasn't steady anymore. It was surgical. By afternoon, Noah showed up at the apartment. He didn't knock. He still had his key. Hey, he said, all soft remorse. We need to talk. Agreed. I closed my laptop. About which part? The contract or the trust? His jaw tensed. So you've been snooping. It's called research, I said. It's how adults protect themselves. He ran a hand through his hair, rehearsed guilt on his face. It's not what you think. No? I asked. Because what I think is that your parents want you to get your trust fund now, and the prenup ensures I never touch a dime of it. His silence was confirmation. Tell me, Noah, I said, folding my arms. How much debt are you actually in? That's none of your... It's in the prenup that your debt becomes mine, I interrupted, so it's very much my business. He looked away. It's not just student loans. Then what? Credit cards, he muttered. About 40. 40,000? I said, almost laughing. From what? Living expenses, he snapped. You have no idea how much it costs to maintain the lifestyle you think you deserve, I finished. Because that's not a living. That's leverage. He slammed his palm on the counter. Don't you dare talk to me like I'm some spoiled... Then stop acting like one, I said quietly. You wanted to marry me. Get your trust unlocked, pay off your debts, and keep me bound by a contract that leaves me with nothing if it falls apart. It's not like that, he shouted. I love you. I tilted my head. Do you? Or do you love that I'm stable enough to marry, but not wealthy enough to threaten you? That one landed, his face twisted. You're unbelievable. And you're predictable, I said, reaching for my bag. He grabbed my wrist. If you walk out, we're done. Then we're done, I said. My voice didn't even tremble. I yanked free, grabbed the spare key from the hook, and pressed it into his palm. You'll need a new place soon, I said. The lease is in my name. He stared at me, disbelief flickering to rage. You'll regret this. Maybe, I said, but not as much as I'd regret signing that paper. The next 3 weeks were a textbook extinction burst. If you've ever seen someone lose control of the narrative, you know how desperate they get trying to reclaim it. Days 1-3, love bombing, bouquets at my office, late-night texts about how sorry he was. You're my calm, he wrote. You're my compass. He even showed up at Caleb's place, where I was staying, holding takeout from my favorite Thai spot. I just want to talk, he said through the door. I didn't open it. I just texted, stop showing up uninvited. Days 4-7, anger. When that didn't work, he turned vicious. Social posts about how I was materialistic, that I refused to sign a simple prenup. Mutual friends started messaging me. What's going on? He's saying weird stuff. My stomach sank when I saw one of his captions. Some people only love you until money enters the chat. Days 8-14, bargaining. Charles reached out through his lawyer. New terms, the email said. $75,000 after 5 years, $100 after 7. Each offer just a shinier version of the same insult. I declined them all. Days 15-21, chaos. The Whitmore family's mask came all the way off. It started with a call from HR. Quinn, we got a complaint from someone named Noah Whitmore. He said you've been emotionally unstable since the breakup. My manager's tone was careful. I wanted to check in directly before this goes anywhere. I exhaled. Thank you. He's my ex. This is retaliation. I figured, she said. We'll document it. That night, I opened my building's door to find the apartment dark, then flickering. Music thumped upstairs. Noah was there, laughing with people I'd never met, empty bottles everywhere. He looked down at me from the balcony. You can't kick me out, he called. Tenant rights, babe. You don't pay rent, I said. I live here, he shot back. I'll sue. With what money? I asked. He smirked. Watch me. Over the next few days, the parties became routine. Weeknights, strangers, chaos. He'd leave clothes in the dryer so I'd have to touch them. Leave dishes in the sink just to watch me react. It wasn't heartbreak anymore. It was warfare. The final straw came in the form of a phone call. Ms. Ashford, a calm voice said, we're calling about unusual activity on your credit card. Did you authorize a $5,000 purchase at Nordstrom? No, I said, pulse rising. No, I did not. They froze the card immediately. I sat on the couch for a long time, staring at the wall. Noah had taken a photo of my card months ago. 4 emergencies. Apparently, retail revenge counted as one. That night, I filed a police report. Fraud is a felony, even when it's wearing your ex's cologne. A week later, Caleb called. You'll want to sit down. He'd done some digging. Noah's done this before, he said. Little amounts, small scams. He takes advantage of whoever he's dating, but this time he got greedy and sloppy. Caleb paused. You remember that influencer girl he dated, Sabrina Cole? Barely. She just reached out to me. Same pattern. He used her card too. Smaller purchases, but still theft. She never pressed charges. My throat went dry. Until now. Until now, Caleb said. I emailed the detective on my case, attaching Sabrina's statement. Within 24 hours, things started moving fast. And then came the call that confirmed everything. This is Detective Lewis, a measured voice said. Ms. Ashford, we're opening a wider investigation. Seems Mr. Whitmore has a history. History. Such a polite word for what it really was. A pattern of entitlement dressed in charm. That night, my phone buzzed again. Charles Whitmore. I let it ring twice before answering. You need to drop this, he said. Why would I do that? Because we can make your life difficult. More difficult than identity theft and false reports to my job? I asked. You have no idea who you're talking to, Charles. I know exactly who, he said. A woman who doesn't know her place. Then I guess it's time I learned to build my own. He hung up. I set my phone down. Heartbeat steady. Competence isn't about being fearless. It's about documentation. And I had receipts, every text, every transaction, every threat. The Whitmores thought they'd drafted my silence into a contract. They didn't realize I'd been drafting my case. The first thing I learned about the wealthy is that they hate when paper trails start pointing upward instead of down. Detective Lewis called again the next morning. Ms. Ashford, just confirming you're willing to pursue charges for the credit card fraud? Yes, I said. I want it on record. Understood. For what it's worth, your documentation's meticulous. You've made my job easy. Competence pays its quiet dividends. By evening, patrol cars rolled up to the Whitmores' townhouse. Neighbors peeked through curtains as officers stepped inside. I didn't need to be there. I already knew how that scene played out. The disbelief, the outrage, Linda's trembling hands, Noah's hollow stare when they asked about the purchase. The golden boy cornered by receipts. 2 hours later, my phone lit up again. Charles. You think this is funny? He snarled. You've humiliated our family. No, I said calmly. You've humiliated yourselves. I just refuse to clean it up. You'll regret this. We can ruin you, Quinn. I almost laughed. You already tried. Remember the fake HR complaint, the social posts, the noise violations? You're out of ammunition. He hung up, but I knew that wasn't the end. People like Charles don't surrender. They negotiate with pressure. 3 days later, Caleb called again. You're not going to believe this. Try me. I found 2 more women. Both dated Noah, both had money vanish while they were together. One's in Chicago, one's here in the city. Neither ever filed reports, but they've still got the transactions. I exhaled. You're kidding. Nope. I sent their info to Detective Lewis. He's compiling it into a joint case. What does that mean? It means your ex isn't facing just one fraud charge anymore. He's facing multiple. The satisfaction that followed wasn't joy exactly. It was vindication sharpened into purpose. The kind that stops you from second-guessing your own sanity. 2 days later, the Whitmore's attorney reached out. His voice was syrupy smooth, every syllable wrapped in diplomacy. My clients would like to resolve this matter privately, Ms. Ashford. No one benefits from public scandal. I disagree, I said. Some people benefit from accountability. I'm authorized to offer a settlement, he continued. $200,000, full withdrawal of all complaints, and a non-disclosure agreement. I smiled without smiling. No. He hesitated. I beg your pardon? $500,000, I said, and a written apology from Noah, 3 pages minimum, acknowledging fraud, defamation, and attempted coercion, plus proof he completes financial counseling. Otherwise, we go to court. That's absurd. That's consequences, I replied. Your client's pattern extends to multiple victims. I'm offering an off-ramp. Silence, then. I'll confer with my clients. The next morning, a courier arrived with a thick envelope. Inside, a signed agreement. $500,000. Apology letter attached. I sat on the couch and read every word of Noah's handwriting. I exploited people who trusted me. I weaponized their care to fund my lifestyle. I lied, stole, and justified it as survival when it was selfishness. I am sorry, Quinn, not because I was caught, but because I finally understand what I did. It was probably dictated by a lawyer, but there were shaky edges where his arrogance used to be. That, somehow, was enough. Caleb came over that night with champagne. "So," he said, popping the cork, "you just out-negotiated a family of predators." "I just did what they didn't expect," I said. "I read the fine print." We laughed, but under it was something heavier. Relief, maybe. Or closure, finally realizing it could breathe. Weeks later, I got one more call from Detective Lewis. "Charges have been dropped," he said. "Settlement filed, but you might find this interesting." "What?" "There's a morality clause in Noah's trust. Any criminal conviction, even a misdemeanor, delays access to the principal until age 40. I blinked. "So even without jail time..." "He's locked out of his money for the next 14 years, Lewis finished. "His parents are furious. Thought you'd like to know." I laughed then. It wasn't vindictive, it was the sound of something heavy unclasping. "Thank you," I said, "truly." 2 weeks later, Linda showed up at my office. She didn't call ahead, just materialized at reception, pearls tight around her neck. My manager peeked into my cubicle. "There's a Mrs. Whitmore here to see you. Should I—" "It's fine," I said. "Send her in." Linda's heels clicked across the tile like gunfire. She didn't sit. "You've ruined him," she said. "No," I said evenly. "He ruined himself. I just stopped covering the damage." Her lipstick trembled. "He'll never forgive you." "Good," I said. "I'm not asking him to." "You're a monster." I smiled just slightly. "Then I guess we're even." She left without another word. When the door shut behind her, I turned back to my monitor. Budget forecasts blinked on the screen, calm and exact. I adjusted a cell formula and thought, this is what peace looks like, numbers that make sense again. 6 months later, the world had reassembled itself into something livable. I used part of the settlement to buy a small brick house. Nothing glamorous, but wholly mine. No joint names, no hidden clauses, just a deed with Quinn Ashford typed cleanly across the bottom. The rest I invested. Low risk, high stability. I liked watching numbers grow the honest way. And yes, I was seeing someone. Eli Martinez, a history teacher who still thought formality meant dressing up, not signing your soul away. On our third date, he asked gently, "Would you ever consider marriage again?" I laughed. "With the right contract." He grinned. "Fair's fair." Sometimes at night, I think back to that evening in Charles's study. The oak desk, the signatures, the scent of money disguised as morality. I think about how they expected me to fold, to call exploitation love. Instead, I turned their paper fortress into my foundation. The prenup was meant to protect them and destroy me. In the end, it did the opposite, because when you understand the fine print, you learn how to write your own clauses.